All right. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go again. Here we go again. Hello, everyone. This is Andrew coming to you a little early today. Usually I'm about 9:30, but like last night, I shared a video that I had done previously. Matter of fact, it was a few years back about peace and peace. Peace, P-E-A-C-E, and peace, P-I-E-C-E. You know, peace of mind and giving someone a piece of your mind. And I talk about that. It's old, but it's good. You know, just chatting. And I said I was going to do a video on authenticity. And I think it's important because when I started out, the title was Deception. Deception 1, Deception 2, this is Deception 3. To thine own self be true. And hopefully everything unfolds smoothly. You know, you're doing video and anything can happen. But again, I said authenticity. And so the word, and I want to be clear with this so that we start out on the same page. The word authenticity, true to your own personality, values, and spirit, regardless of pressures to act otherwise. And then let me just read that again right quick. True to your own personality, values, and spirit, regardless of pressures to act otherwise. Let me just see if this lamp will help a little bit. It might help a little bit. But anyway, not avoiding self. And I'm not sharing anything that you don't already know. It might be a reminder, but I want to be true to what I said I was going to do. We can be persuaded to do things. We can be influenced to do things. And for the most part, it can be good. If it's to your advantage, or if it's to the individual persuader or influencer advantage. And I say that because regardless of how it unfolds, you have to be true to yourself in the decisions that you're making. And I'll use this right quick. There was a theory of psychology from this guy named Abraham Maslow. And I'm not going to go too deep in it, but you can take the name and look it up. And it was like maybe 5 levels to this theory. But the first level, our needs as individuals, food, water, clothing, sleep, and then going through the levels to the top would be self-awareness or self-actualization, I believe it is. So you come from a basic understanding of the actual needs that a person has to have in order to survive, and then progress to self-actualization, things that come up in a person's life that one develops through or develops in to become a greater awareness of their own self. So we're not getting off track. We're talking about authenticity. We're talking about to thine own self be true. And we're talking about life as it is for an individual to take them off track of where they come from, how they're growing, and what's the result of what they do. I'm Andrew Clinton Walker. I'm from Lawrenceville, Virginia. I was born in 1954. Parents, Rayfield Walker and Ida Elizabeth Walker. That's my origin. That's my authenticity. Now, as I grow, things change by how I'm socialized, social mirroring. I watch my parents. I watch people in school. I watch people in church. I watch my surroundings. And my behavior modifies to what I see and do or how it unfolds. And of course, I'm just use this right quick. Discipline, if it didn't unfold to what one would perceive as the natural way one should act, you're disciplined. You know, I know. I done had whippings. I ain't gonna do that no more. I ain't gonna do that no more. And as soon as that whipping wear off and I'm back to myself again, into the same old mischief. But anyway, just to clarify what I'm saying, we are talking about developing into oneself from the original state of being. So we're not going to be per se authentic from birth because we're growing differently, but we can be authentic in our character to our own self, because to that own self be true is who you have to be. It's not what I do or how I act per se in front of everybody else. It's what I do when I'm by myself and can't nobody see me. Am I being true to myself? That's what's important. And I think one thing that's very important again is when I say motivate, or our behavior is motivated by what we need, or our behavior is motivated by what we need. A good example, and I'm just using it off the top of my head, a good example. An individual wants money, or an individual needs money. They find a job, or they steal, okay, rob a bank, whatever. I mean, that's just being for real. But their action is motivated by what they need. Their behavior is motivated by what they need. But is that their authentic self? Not really. I would dare say that I hear the word imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome. And I thought about that, imposter, not being yourself, not being true to yourself. If you're an imposter, that means that you're not being true to yourself. You're doing something other than who you are. And I thought about that, and I thought about being influenced, and I thought about being persuaded, and a lot of things happen in your life you might not even think about it in building a character. Like when I was growing up as a young boy, I was in the Boy Scouts, and the Boy Scouts law: trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. I didn't really think about those words as developing a character, but the older I got, I can understand that surely those are characteristics that an individual can develop within themselves. And even from another perspective, biblical instruction before leaving earth, one could say the fruit of the Spirit. And I just leave that there. But I just threw it out there so you can. I didn't want to go secular and did not go from a spiritual perspective also. But it's very important to understand that as we grow, we mirror society. And in mirroring society, it can take away from what we are developing from the inside, because we don't look at it from a standpoint of what's innate. We look at it from what's on the outside, and we take in what's on the outside and display it back, as opposed to attempting to find out what's on the inside of us and play it forth. And it makes a big difference. So in just talking about, I think I mentioned also, the only place success comes before work is in the dictionary. And a lot of individuals find other ways to accumulate income or earn income or whatever. But again, being true to self if we want to earn in means that are not ethical, things of that nature, it's not being true to self. It's not being authentic. And you can disagree or not. You can leave a comment, hey, when you look at it, because you might not, again, I'm doing it early, so you might see it later on or whatever. You might see it 2 weeks from now. I don't know. But you can always leave a comment, say, Andrew, what you're saying is pretty cool, but I think from this level, or I think from this perspective, and that's all right. I like to think also, like when I'm talking, the local vernacular or the local colloquial. I thought about Toastmasters, and I was a part of Toastmasters for a while, and you learn to articulate stuff like that. And I was thinking about when I was growing up in school, especially, and I use this as a good example in math class, the number 10 and the number 10. Well, when I was growing up in school, it was 10. 10 is something that was really on top of the house. 10, T-I-N. 10, T-E-N, is the number. But it really didn't matter, because if I said 10 in a math class, individuals will understand what I'm talking about. And understanding is what's important. So again, I'm not saying anything that you don't know. It might bring something up in your awareness, but it's important to understand, again, the local colloquial or the local vernacular, whatever, to pick up on when I'm out on the street and I pass a bunch of guys. I don't say, how are you all doing today? I say, what's happening, man? And they pick up on that, as opposed to, they might say, what's happening, Pop? Or whatever. But anyway, it's cool to want to, I guess, blend to the environment as opposed to being outside of it. But the authenticity of how I associate or what I say is important to interacting in whatever atmosphere you might find yourself in, or the old saying, when in Rome, do as a Roman. But anyway, I think it's important to understand that it's not about being an imposter, because you have to be true to yourself. And I'll go back to that. Others can do what others have done if they're willing to pay the price others have paid, whether they are in an imposter action or whether they are true to themselves. Either way it goes, one has to be true to yourself. That's authenticity. It's not about what somebody else thinks. It's about what you think about yourself, because you live with yourself more than you live with anybody else. True to your own personality, values, and spirit, regardless of pressure to act otherwise. And that takes stability to do that, because we are like having things coming at us from every side. Every day somebody got a new program. Every day somebody got a new whatever they want to share. The internet is full of it. Everybody has the best program. But that's up to the individual to decide what they feel is best for their character or whatever. But I'm just saying, things are there, and you have to be true to yourself, because if you don't know who you are, you might just pick up on anything and say, well, hey, that ain't right. That ain't going to work, because it didn't work for Uncle Joe. And Uncle Joe said his cousin, the head of cousin, the head of friend told him that it didn't work. So, hey, I'm not going to deal with it. And it's so important to understand. It's just my take on this. It's just my take on it. It's a growing process. It's a growing process. And we have to understand that if our behavior is motivated by our need, then we have to define to the fullest extent what our needs are, so that we make sound decisions about what it is that we want. From a biblical perspective, God will supply all of our need, N-E-E-D. It doesn't read needs, N-E-E-D-S. If it's there, just say, Andrew, you're wrong. I ain't mad, just bring something to my attention. But anyway, I just wanted to pop on and just get that out because I said I was going to do that authenticity. I wanted to do that. And I wanted to, you can give me your opinion, give me what you think, whatever, because I'm not, some things that I share with you, like Maslow's psychological theories, it's theory, but it has a lot of value to it. Our basic needs is our basic needs. But self-actualization is a growth process, and few get there. But anyway, food for thought, as a phrase that is so commonly used a lot of times, food for thought. And a couple of things that I want to leave with you, I think is very important. One thing I heard, and I think about it, this how it reads, you ain't too old to start over, but you are too old to keep doing what is not working. Okay? You ain't too old to start over, but you are too old to keep doing what is not working. So that's a personal decision. If you're doing something you feel is not working for you and you want to change, you pivot. Keep on rolling. The other thing is, it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. And the last thing I heard, and I think this is cool, because again, when you think about it, and I like personally, I like the local vernacular, I like the local colloquial, and if I need to change that, I can, but I like being me. That's my authentic self. Be who you is, and not who you ain't. Because if you ain't who you is, who is you? Now you can correct that if you want, but I want to leave it just like that. Be who you is, not who you ain't. Because if you ain't who you is, who is you? So until the next time, be authentic to yourself. Be for real to other people. And be who you is.